And during this association, we joined the Sussex League as founder members in 1971. And throughout that supported it. Our third 11 joined the initial spells when they ran the third 11 competition as well, which ranged over such sides of the county as Hastings and Chichester and so on, until it eventually collapsed. And because of the travelling, because I'm sure you realise at third 11 level it was a long way to travel from Hastings to Chichester for a match of, not the same standard as first 11 cricket. We had one very, very brisk year in the East Sussex League and decided that was far too much travelling. And then we joined the Sussex Championship. And Alan Perkins and I used to go to these meetings together, and gradually, as the Invitation League swept sides into their midst, which they seemed to always take from the Sussex Championship as it was being called, we gradually evolved into the West Sussex League in the middle 90s. I found myself secretary, Alan was chairman. When Alan retired from chairman, I took over as chairman. And Nissa from the Eagles was kind enough to be secretary, although Jackie did most of the work. And then Nissa pointed out, well, Jackie might as well be secretary, and so she became. And now we've arrived at the final stages of this, that with the county league extending from 20 clubs to 40 clubs, the Invitation League has suffered great reverses. Its 36 clubs went down to 21. As usual, they pinched one of our clubs from the West Sussex to take them up to 22. But clearly there weren't enough sides really in both the leagues to make a successful long-term structure. Ours had been constantly being eroded by their movements and membership. So in fact it was decided by the Sussex Cricket Board about this time last year that we should merge the two leagues together. So this is actually the very last day, as it were, or whichever way you want to look at it, because the AGM of the new league is tomorrow evening. I anticipate Jackie has retired gracefully from the secretary position and not provided herself for election, which I think is a judgment of considerable wisdom and probably a great deal of relief to her. I, for my sins, have been prepared to stand as chairman simply because I want to try and see cricket develop into this ladder structure that we were playing in the West Sussex League. But as you're aware, they have these sort of artificial ladders in the new structure, so that's been a bit disappointing. Now Serendib, when they approached us last year, and we entered into conversation it became immediately apparent to me that we were going to have another quality side joining, and as it was, with extremely good news, 2 teams, because it's one thing for just to get one club joining us from starting up, but to get 2 teams has actually been a little bit unusual in the last few years. And it quickly became apparent to me that the standard of cricket that you'd be able to play would be pretty good, both for your first and second level. Now normally sides have tended to join in the Division 4 and work their way up through the sides. But because obviously West Chiltern had already left the league to go and strengthen the Invitation League up to 22 clubs, I had an automatic vacancy there. And I decided that I was going to play Serendib in Division 1. Now, I have to say, one of the other clubs actually wrote to me and asked me how I'd come to this decision. And I said to him, when I replied to his email, that it was my judgment that I thought that you would be good enough to survive quite well in Division 1. Well, I think my judgment proved to be correct. Yes. I never doubted it was right to start. I'm also equally confident. I'm extremely glad for you guys that you've been able to benefit from what has been negotiated with the new league and go straight in at a decent level. I have to tell you that my third team, which finished a rather distant second to you, are actually, having to play in Division 2. They've actually been allowed to play in the first division of the second level competition, but there are some 3 or 4 leagues below you at all, which hasn't pleased most of my third team members too much. But when you're also chairman of 3 Bridges, you have to put up with some of these things. You can't please all of the people all the time. But one thing I'm certain about is that Serendib will do well. And I confidently expect to see you pushing very hard for promotion in this inaugural year, because I think you've got the players, and I think you'll prove this. There's a lot of deadwood in that invitation league, and I think, you know, they're going to find out the hard way that the West Sussex League, we might not be quite the fancy dams as some of the other places, we might not have all the grounds that are the best in the world, but we've got some pretty good cricketers, and I reckon that you guys won't let me down. So, all the best. I think you've thoroughly deserved your success this year. The amount of games you've won by the margins you've won tells you that you're a pretty strong side. And you've just got to keep it going now. And who knows where you can go. It's up to you, isn't it? If you can put it all together, there's no reason why you can't keep moving it forward. And I think for your own sakes, to be able to play together, one of my dear friends from Three Bridges who I've been chatting to, you know, I think it's a lovely idea. If I were in Sri Lanka and I could play for the equivalent of Three Bridges there, I'd want to do that. I think it's exactly right that you do it. I wish you every success. I would also say, if any of you ever hope to come and play at Three Bridges, we would be delighted to see you. Not to steal your players, but only to say that we're playing Premiership cricket, and that is the best standard of cricket outside county cricket. And if you're good enough, you'd be always welcome. Because we run as a club where cricket is really the only standard of what we do. And I think that's how you hope to run your club. And I'm sure you'll be successful. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lieutenant. I would like Mr. Hangama to give some words with regards to Serendib Cricket Club and his role he plays with the club without you all knowing what he does with the club. Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Tennant, Nehru, Alan, gentlemen. It gives me great pride and pleasure to be here tonight at your inaugural presentation or award ceremony. Around about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, I had a phone call from Azam, and usually Azam calls me when he wants something. But this was for a good cause. Azam mooted the idea of starting a cricket club, a Sri Lankan cricket club in Crawley. And may I say that I've been in this area for about 25 years, and it was to me a great idea because I would have loved to have seen Sri Lankan cricket club in this area maybe 20 years ago. So I was quite happy to help him to set it up. But I did tell him at the time that I couldn't have a lot of hands-on involvement because, as some of you may know, I'm involved with the Sri Lankan Cricket Board and Sri Lankan Schools Cricket as their vice chairman. So I have to travel to Sri Lanka quite a bit last year. And on top of that, I was the secretary of the Festival of Cricket. So that took so much of my time that I just didn't have the time to give it. But next year, after the Sri Lankan tour, in June, I will certainly spend more time with you guys and will be supporting you. And we'll also, thanks to you for your sponsorship, but I think we'll try and get some more sponsorship for Serendib. Because your achievement this year, and I've played 35 years of cricket in this country, is probably the only time that I've heard of a club going through the season and winning every single game they play. I've heard of clubs going through a season being unbeaten, but certainly not winning every single game. So your